Welcome to the Australian Institute of International Affairs. We're joined today with Justice Michael Kirby, the former Justice of the High Court, and he's done many other things. He's now into the world of international affairs, working with the UN. We're here today at the Australian Institute of International Affairs National Conference, the title of which this year is Navigating the International Disorder. And that's where I'd like to start, Michael. We've seen a lot of emerging international disorder these days, especially in the recent week with the withdrawal of Burundi, South Africa and the Gambia from the International Criminal Court. I wondered if you had any comments on that and whether we're going to see any immediate ramifications from their withdrawal.
Well, keep in mind that I am not a diplomat, and in fact my association with the international order has been for particular specific tasks. Most recently, the high-level panel of the Secretary-General on Access to Healthcare and the Commission of Inquiry of the Human Rights Council on North Korea. If you want to talk about international disorder, it really is presented by the case of North Korea, because that is a country where very serious crimes against humanity were found on an arguable basis by the Commission of Inquiry, but the problem is to find a tribunal or a court that can hear the matters and investigate and bring accountability. And so it's the interaction between human rights and peace and security. North Korea having developed nuclear warheads, missile delivery systems, submarine delivery systems, all in order to avoid accountability and in order to prevent their having to answer for the crimes that have been found should be considered by a prosecutor and a court. So this illustrates principles speaking to power and how we get power to be accountable to international human rights law, how we make international human rights law more effective. We are making progress, definitely. The very fact that there was a commission of inquiry is an indication that progress can be made. Likewise on LGBT issues, gay, homosexual, sexual orientation, gender identity, there have been big developments there. But even on that issue, in the last week, representatives mainly from the African continent have endeavoured to stop the work of the independent expert on soggy issues. And so the progress is being made, but there are still enemies to progress, countries that fear progress, and Australia has to play a part in pushing forward the endeavour to build a world based on the Charter of the United Nations that protects international peace and security, but also upholds universal human rights.
You've led me straight into my next question, actually. A lot of these legal instruments that you talk about are being increasingly politicised. You had your troubles with North Korea when you released your report, in that it wasn't very well received. How do you see these hurdles being overcome in the future if more states kind of withdraw into themselves and take the international legal rule-based order with a bit more scepticism?
It's not quite true to say the report wasn't well received. In fact, the report was very well received by the Human Rights Council, to whom we delivered the report. It wasn't well received by North Korea because there were very serious criticisms and conclusions of crimes against humanity, which are those international crimes that shock the conscience of humanity and therefore call out for a response. How do you make a country like North Korea more responsive? Well, that is, I think, easier if they are not armed to the teeth with nuclear weapons. And so that is in turn bound up with the international moves in which Australia has played an honourable part to prevent proliferation of nuclear weapons and to destroy the huge stockpiles of nuclear weapons that exist. We've made progress on non-proliferation, but North Korea withdrew from the non-proliferation treaty. We haven't made as much progress as we should on destruction. And frankly, in terms of the international community, if we don't really grapple in this generation with the issues of non-proliferation and destruction of nuclear weapons, we needn't bother spending too much of our valuable brain power thinking about all the other nice issues of international affairs, because the long-term possibility of the use of nuclear weapons, even accidentally or by rogue people or rogue states, is so considerable over time that unless we take control of this issue, it's going to be really curtains for the human species. And so this is a really important issue, and on it Australia has to give more leadership, I think, than it does.
There's also the issue of migration. A refugee law has been a huge issue in recent debates. Some would argue it underpins the Brexit leave, the election of Trump as well. Should we be concerned about those developments? As Australia, these are our biggest alliance partners, really.
We should be paying more attention to them, but hopefully in the context of the international treaties that we've signed up for. You don't have to sign these treaties. North Korea doesn't have to be a member of the United Nations and sign up to the Charter of the United Nations. But if you do, then you are bound by the international principles that are laid down. And generally speaking, Australia has been and is a good international citizen. However, there must be a very serious doubt that in the case of the Refugees Convention and Protocol, to which Australia is a party, has long been a party, that the strategies that have been adopted both by the coalition government and by the Labor governments of diverting people who are coming to you to seek protection under the Refugees Convention and Protocol to another place where other people of other countries will process your claim, and that not very swiftly, and will do so in conditions which by all accounts, though access to it is controlled, horrendous. If that is the case, then it must be a doubt as to whether Australia is complying with its international obligations. And this is where power and principle are not communicating very well at the moment. And you're right to point to Brexit and also to the election of Mr. Trump and the wall that he's proposing. These are hot political issues, but in terms of Australia, the sorts of pressures that we face are relatively small by comparison to the pressures that are faced either by the United States in respect of Hispanics or by Europe and Britain in respect of people coming into their countries. And therefore, adhering to international treaties that we agree to is and should be a cornerstone of Australian engagement with international affairs.
Very wise words there from Justice Michael Kirby. Thank you for watching us. There's more videos available on our YouTube channel. We'll see you soon.